He is a UCLA basketball great. Dijon Thompson was there for 4 years from 2001 to 2005, spent some time in the NBA, then had a long run overseas. He joins us today to reflect on his career. I'm Bryan Fenley, an anchor at Fox Sports Radio. Dijon, as someone who I have looked up to, who I have watched, this is really one of those star-struck moments for me here getting you on. And what is it about you, though, these days that with everything you've done, all the attention that's been on you, that you like to keep a lower profile now that your playing days are in your rearview mirror, or at least for the most part?
I think that's kind of always been my personality, my persona, just kind of under the radar, like I say. Not really. I'm a man of many, few words for the most part. I really don't talk so much, but it's just my personality. I just like to stay low key. Most people know how to reach me, but I just like to stay low key.
As far as looking back at your career, what was draft night like for you 2005?
Honestly, it's going back and telling these stories from the past, and I do recall this story. Given my experience of my draft night, I'm just gonna be honest. Like that process was probably one of the most stressful processes ever. Just going to different workouts day after day, just traveling from city to city. And then the final day comes where you're getting drafted. You don't know where exactly you're gonna go. You're sitting at your agent's office with family, and your agent's working the phones, saying you're going to go here, you go there. So you have in your mindset that you're going to go a particular number, a particular spot, and you fall. You don't go where you think you're going to go. And I went 54 to the New York Knicks. Um, Forever grateful for being drafted. And I tell every young player that it was an honor to be one of the top 60 players to be drafted, even though I was a little disappointed in the draft space where I went, but only 60 players get drafted. So I looked at it like that, used it as motivation, and I couldn't have got drafted by the Knicks. Isaiah Thomas was the GM at the time, and then I was immediately traded to Phoenix. So it was stressful, but also comforting and a big weight off my shoulder at the same time.
How close were you to going pro after your junior year?
I was very, very close. I actually tested the waters with Trevor. He actually left that year, my junior year. So we both actually attended the pre-draft camp in Chicago. At that time, the process was a little bit different. You couldn't hire an agent. If you hired an agent, he was full in. So the process was a little bit different. You had to test the waters, get in and get out, or get in and stay in. So I went to the pre-draft, played all right, didn't show exactly what you wanted to show, but so I took the decision to go back to school and finish out my senior year, which I don't regret that decision.
What's not surprising to you in seeing Trevor Ariza have this long career in the NBA?
Trevor being a good friend of mine, I think so highly of Trevor, the way he carries himself. It's just his attitude, the way he approaches the game. Um, he's just a dog. He he bets on himself. He's gonna work hard. He's professional. I mean, there's nothing else to say about Trevor. You know him. If you don't, he's just gonna he's just a fighter. He's gonna hustle. He's learned from the best. He has a championship. I mean, he's everything that you would want your career to be.
If I asked Ben Hallen what your personality traits are and what makes you such a dog on the court, what would he say?
I think my value that I bring to the game is high basketball IQ. Um, um, I think the game a little bit more. I try to get teammates involved. I'm not really a, a one-dimensional player, I should say. So I try to impact the game from all different stats. So I think what Ben Holland might say is just professional. I approached every game the same. Played hard every game. You just know what you're going to get out of me. I think every game.
You, the Bruins got a lot out of you in 2005 against Texas Tech in the opening round of the NCAA tournament. What from that game do you still hold on to?
Wow. From that year, I remember I was a senior, and we had a group of talented freshmen. Um, Ben Holland, that was his first year. No, that was his second year. That was his second year. That was my senior year. So we had a new group of guys in, and we were still trying to implement a new system. But I just remember playing at U of A. I was like, whew, this is a familiar court for us since it's still the Pac-10 at the time. So we've played here during the season. I played here for 4 years. So I know the court. We're playing against Texas Tech. So I think we had the odds, I thought, is Arizona's still close, so we could still get some fans there. So I thought we were still favored to win the game. I thought we had a really a good chance to win the game. We just came up short. I think that was just due to just experience, because that big gap that we had not making the tournament from my freshman year to the senior year, it was just a big gap, and a lot of experience just lost from that.
You came out of high school so hyped. What was your work ethic like at that age?
The same. I'm gonna be honest. I've never really been just a big gym rat. But I'll say I'll get in, do my work, and then I'm done. But I've never been a gym rat. You're not going to see me, I'm just all day in the gym just shooting. That's never been my game or been my approach. It's probably difference to why these high level players are high level players. But I was still a professional, still approach the game, but still practice hard. It was just, I approach the game. I try to be efficient. That's just the way I play the game. It's just, I try to be efficient in everything I do, not to overwork, but to just be efficient where I work.
You were efficient on the court when you would take on some of the greats in high school that would end up being really good players, even in the NBA. Josh Childress, what were those battles like against him in high school?
Amazing. Still talk to Josh today. Laugh about those days. Just playing against a player like that, it just raised the bar of your intensity. It just raised the bar of, the player, who you was and what you prepared for. So I just took it as a challenge, took it as an honor to be able to even be on the same stage as somebody like that, and to carry it over from high school to college. And he went to Stanford, I went to UCLA. So we still carried that over. I think I won the high school, he won the college, but so I guess we broke even there.
When you guys talk or stay in touch these days, do you oftentimes go back to those days, or what's sort of the conversations like? Because there's got to be a lot of nostalgia there.
Yeah, a little bit, but it's growth at the end of the day. We're not young bucks anymore. We've all made some type of transition or still making a transition. So it's just growth, just networking, being a soundboard to each other, seeing where each other can help each other, be of value to each other. So that's kind of mostly been the conversation.
Did your high school path take you to playing Tyson Chandler? Because if I'm not mistaken, I was reading that there was a game where you were playing his team, but I think he might have gotten injured beforehand, and so you weren't able to play him. But were
Yeah.
you guys ever on the court together?
Yeah, again, a lot of these guys have been good friends from young ages, from AAU, growing up. So, again, still talk to Tyson here and there. Have actually trained. We had the same trainer the last 2 years when I was still training. So we actually trained, had a couple training sessions together. So we definitely laughed, from high school days and still laugh. But yeah, my high school team, Redondo, played Dominguez in the CIF. It was actually not the state finals, but the game before the state finals at the Great Western Forum. He had hurt his foot, so it was his senior year, my senior year. He hurt his foot. He was going to the draft his senior out of high school, so he elected not to play because he was getting ready to the draft, and we came up short. Dominguez was still the favorite, but we had a chance to beat them, and that's all I remember. My last high school games at the Great Western Forum in Inglewood, where I lived, went home right around the corner after the game and just was sulking a little bit that we lost to Mingus and they go ahead and win the state championship without Tyson Chandler. So I was like, I thought it was our time to actually beat the Mingus without Tyson. They still beat us.
What's the one game that was a loss that hurts the most to this day?
Good question. Good question. Maybe that Texas Tech game, since it was my last collegiate game. I would have liked to advance a little bit further my senior year, selfishly for myself, but for the team, just like I said, it was a big gap from my freshman year to the senior year. So I remember the experience from my freshman year and how fun it was to get at least to the Sweet 16. And I just wanted to just get there at least to the Sweet 16 and have the rest of the team, the younger guys experience that, what I got to experience. So that was, I think that's probably I took that very, very hard. I was bummed after that game. It was a long way home. I was bummed. Yeah.
When you think about you finishing up at UCLA in 2005, and then the year after that, the team goes on this run through the Final Four, beating Gonzaga in 2006 in that memorable game with Adam Morrison. When you left the program, what percentage did you think that could be pulled off the next year? That those guys would go on that miraculous run they went on?
I don't think anybody knew that. And it's kind of the same situation how it was this season with the team. I don't think anybody knew that they would get that far. The talent was there. I think the X factor with that team was Ryan Hollins. He really elevated his game in that tournament. Of course, there were other factors with Cedric Bozeman being there. He came in the same year as me, so he got his fifth year. So that was extra experience that they were able to have on the floor. So Ryan Hollins and Cedric Bozeman, these guys were able to help with their experience and to help these teams advance. I remember I was sitting in Phoenix. I had just had microfracture surgery, so I was sitting there in Phoenix on crutches watching UCLA like, if I was only there, they could use me, they could need me. We would have won the chip. I strongly would have beat Florida had I had a fifth year, but they played strong. I was happy for the guys for them to even get to that stage, and the following year get back to the Final Four. So it was exciting to see, to be honest.
When you saw Jordan Farmar, when he was a freshman, because you played with him as a freshman, what is it about the way he was able to take that program, even after you had left, that you knew that this guy had greatness in him?
Yeah, like I said, it's basketball. It comes back to basketball IQ. Jordan was a professional from day one. He was a leader, a point guard, floor general, facilitator, and you could see why he had the career he had. I mean, he played hard. When he stepped on the floor, he didn't have no friends. He was a dog. High basketball IQ. So he was very strategic in how he played. He was very smart in how he attacked the game, and it showed. It showed throughout the rest of his professional career.
One of your former teammates has been strategic and has been so successful when it comes to social media. And Josiah Johnson is the name that comes to mind, a guy who's super funny. He's got a great personality. What was it like being on the team with him, and how he was funny even at that stage of his life before he blew up and became this humongous juggernaut?
I'm glad you say he was funny before he kind of blew up. Yeah, it's funny because people ask me all the time, like, what was it like? And I have a million stories, and Josiah has a very good buzz going on right now. And I'm just like, Josiah's been funny. Like a lot of stuff he's doing now, like, it's just like, he has a lot of stuff you ain't seen, a lot of material still in his pockets. Like, so it's no surprise to me that, you know, the buzz that he has and the success that he's having, it's really no surprise because, like you said, I've seen it up close and personal, and I've given some other stories to where he reenacts this whole Rudy, the movie Rudy situation where it's just hilarious. He has so much material. I mean, it's it's amazing what he could do.
What was amazing in what Mercedes Lewis could do, because he was playing football and on the basketball team, and so you were watching this dual sport star as a teammate.
Yep. You keep naming just greats in all their respective spaces. Mercedes, I've told this story. I was like, I hated when Mercedes played with us because anytime you have a physical specimen like a football player that steps on the hardwood, the game is just totally different. The physicality is totally different. So I was playing a 4 a lot of the time, so I had to bump with him. I'm just like, my body cannot take this. Like, you're just a beast out here. So he brought intensity. He brought that football spirit, that energy to the hardwood, and he didn't play as much, but you could tell he was on the team. You could tell he was there. His presence was more than enough. And to see what he does on the football field is just tilting that. He's still playing, so it just is, doesn't speak to what he does, throughout his whole career. And I've known Mercedes since high school, playing basketball from Long Beach Poly. So, yeah.
Ray Young was someone who I think you might have crossed paths with a little bit in your career, and now he's having this big career with podcasting, and I see him with Matt Barnes and those guys building up this podcast. But what was it like working and getting to know him, even for that short time that you were there with him at the same time?
Everybody you name, I'm still in contact with, bump into, talk to. Ray is that's one thing. Ray is still Ray, two-way Ray. He's always been a hustler, a strategist. He's gonna figure it out. He's always been just a great big brother. Honestly, he's always gonna give me some advice to where I'm gonna take it or leave it. He's always gonna have something good to where you could decipher and to use of some value. So he's always been that important piece to where that transition. He taught me about transitioning, and because he experienced it earlier than I did, so he gave me some advice there and what to do. And it's just like I said, it's no surprise to a lot of these guys' success that they have, because a lot of these guys haven't changed. Their work ethic hasn't changed. Matt's work ethic hasn't changed. He's still a dog on the court, off the court. It just carries over.
We're talking with UCLA basketball great Dijon Thompson. I'm Bryan Fenley. How much space is left on your passport?
Ooh, Bryan, I got a million stories. Like I said, like I'm on my second passport with the added pages on that. So it's I've gone through a full passport with the added pages, and I'm on my second passport with the added pages, and it's kind of slowing down now, but I've got some pretty good and interesting stamps in there.
Cyprus, what was that like playing there? The environment, the people?
Cyprus was interesting. You're on an island. And if you haven't been to Cyprus and don't know the Cypriot culture, they do everything late. So practice didn't start till 8, 9 o'clock. Games don't start till 9 o'clock. You're like, what? They don't eat dinner till 9 o'clock. Like, everything has to start late. So that was an adjustment. But it was an island. So you're just on the island all day and, go to practice once and go back to the island. So it was a very chill environment, very relaxed, my type of environment, personality, just real low, chill, laid back. But it was fun.
So what were you doing when you weren't practicing or playing games when you were on that island?
Go to the beach, hit the boardwalk, just walk around and explore the island. It's not a big island, but I just try to explore as much as I can. It's some situations you have 2 practices a day and you just want to rest as much as you can. So you just kind of just pick your situations according to your situation and, go from there.
How about Israel? And what struck you from that experience?
Israel I've always said, is my second home. It's pound for pound, is probably my favorite place that I've ever lived. The close second would be Japan. So 1A, 1B, Israel and Japan. the hospitality there, the culture, the people, the food, the weather. Israel was amazing. I still have friends there to today. I call family. I could have a place to stay if I go there. So Israel was just amazing. Being able to go play in Jerusalem, see the historical sites, being a history buff, a history major from UCLA. It was just great to see these type of existence that you would never think existed from the Bible. Being able to play in Tel Aviv, which is, for people that haven't been to Tel Aviv, is really very similar to Miami as far as the styles on the water. I just loved it. I just loved it. Had a really good time.
Israel, Cyprus, Japan, Ukraine, Russia, Germany. How did you have the stamina to go to all these countries to keep this career going for so long?
Fortunate, very fortunate. Like I tell everybody, overseas isn't for everybody. And I definitely experienced a lot. You mentioned Ukraine. That was probably one of the hardest places I played, just the culture, the Eastern Europe culture is, it's a very cold culture. If you don't understand them, they could come off very as cold people. But I try to embrace every culture where I've gone and try to pick up the language where I've gone, every place I've been, try to be friendly, just be myself at the end of the day. And everybody's cool. Russia, I spent 4 years in Russia. I didn't like the weather. I'm on the West Coast, so shoveling, snow off your car every morning and having to let your car warm up for 30 minutes is brutal, but it's all an experience. It's all an experience, and it just shapes you for the future.
Will we see you play in the Big Three?
Good question. The world is still unbalanced a little bit. I'm seeing the news on the Big Three. Haven't really heard too much news, but if the opportunity is there, for sure. I mean, I wouldn't mind playing again. And it was a good experience the last time I played and had fun with a lot of familiar faces, and would love to do it again if the opportunity is there.
One of those familiar faces, Baron Davis. How neat was that for you to share that UCLA basketball experience?
It's like I said, like I still talk to these guys. So a lot of these guys are still, I consider them my big brothers. So outside of Big Three, I still see Baron, talk to Baron. So, but to answer your question, to be on the same stage, to be on the same floor with him, to be in to battle with him in the trenches with him, because I'm younger. So it was fun. It was fun to see him that close to me, out there yelling, do this, and to see him out there still playing, and it was encouraging. It's encouraging. It was fun. It was really fun.
One of your teammates on that Big Three roster in the past was Andre Emmett,
Yeah.
and obviously his life was cut way too short. How hard was that for you to hear that news, knowing that you'd work with Andre and what he's done with basketball?
It was very tough. I mean, not just Andre, just anybody close to you like that in that situation. It was very tough because I just seen him, just played the playoffs, the Big Three playoffs with him, and he was by far our best player, our best scorer, and he was the leader of our team. So to hear that happen and to actually kind of to see it, nowadays social media, you see it, it's just like very tough. And like I said, I have stories for days, and I remember Andre from my pre-draft experience from my junior year. That's where I first met Andre Emmett, and in Chicago pre-draft. Still the same old Andre. Come out the hotel. I think me and Trevor was going to TGIF Fridays down the street. Andre was like, "Where are you going?" He said, "I'm going here. We going there." And that's where I remember Andre from. And to get to play with him in Big Three was an honor, because I just know how much of a beast he was from Texas Tech. So we riffed about that a little bit. But Andre was a great guy. Got to know him really well, and to see that happen was a big tragedy for him and his family.
Well, you're in a way helping keep his legacy alive, and certainly his spirit when it comes to the Big Three, and having that experience with him. My final question for you, Dijon, is What are you up to now? I want to hear about how much you're obviously invested in basketball, but as far as you in the working world professionally, what else are you doing?
Well, I've made the transition to the tech space, working with a startup company, working with a co-founder who was a high school friend, actually a UCLA undergraduate as well. It's the startup is basically we're an app that's digesting biometric data from your wearable, so your Apple Watch, Garmin, the Fitbit, and we're giving actionable insights and personalized recommendations tailored to the individual's biometric data.
Wow.
So, in layman's terms, we're basically building the Spotify or Netflix for health and fitness.
Wow.
So, yeah, so very interesting. I tell everybody the transition is pretty similar to basketball in the sense of you're still working with a team, the camaraderie, you're building, you have to facilitate different jobs. It's a different language, but I've traveled to many different countries, so I've learned different languages. So I don't think the tech language is that hard to learn, and I've picked it up in a year, which is surprisingly amazing. That I'd have never thought I'd be in this type of space and learning the type of
Wow.
things I'm learning. So I could sit here and riff on front end and back end and infrastructures and stuff like that, and that's just learned within a year. I had to learn a lot of that stuff in a year, so it's been fun. It's been really fun.
Here's the common denominator for Dijon. He is adaptable. He's versatile. You've done that your whole life, whether it's basketball, whether it's now. You do that so well, and why you've always been so successful because you've been able to be so multiversed in so many different things, basketball and beyond. Dijon, this has been a lot of fun. I'm Bryan Fenley. I really admire your work, what you did at UCLA, what you continue to do, and I really appreciate your time.
No, thank you, man. It's an honor. It's been a long time coming, but glad we got to it, and wouldn't mind doing it again.